comes to wedding budgeting, a lot of couples shy away from this conversation. And this is not a good one because you're setting yourself up for a huge mess if you don't determine how much you're about to spend on that wedding.
Empty hearts and neon lights, the playing with.
Welcome back to the channel. My name is Udo and you're watching Before I Do. This is where we talk everything weddings, love, and relationships. On today's episode, I'll be talking about wedding budgeting and management. So the first thing you want to do when you're talking about your wedding plans is to determine your budget. Let me sit down well and talk about this one. So a lot of couples come to me and they're like, I want to plan my wedding. And I'm like, how much do you have? How much do you want to spend? And they're like, let's just know how much it is first. I don't work like that. And when I tell them I don't work like that, it becomes a problem. They don't even know that I'm trying to help them. So the thing about wedding budgeting is that you need to determine how much you are willing to spend, not how much you have. How much you have is totally different from how much you're willing to spend. So once you determine how much, then we are on the same page and we are on the right track to getting you married. Second thing you need to do is to determine your non-negotiables. What do I mean by that? Your non-negotiables are things that you cannot compromise. A lot of brides, a lot of couples have things on their wedding checklist that they will never compromise. For example, the wedding dress. A lot of brides are so crazy about how they want to look on their wedding day. And it's not even a problem. My own is make sure you can afford it. Make sure you're not breaking the bank just to look good on your wedding day. So you determine your non-negotiables by your personal style. I'm going to talk about that on a different video entirely, how to know or determine your non-negotiables. But this is something you want to do when talking about your wedding budgets. Now, the third thing you want to do is to create wedding categories. Wedding categories, this is where the wedding checklist comes in handy because you're going to have items like the ceremony, the reception, the attire, the in-laws, your food section, entertainment. All these are categories, right? And there are sub headings under these categories. Okay, so you want to know what is what and what you're paying for and if it is necessary. So when you do these categories and then you put everything that you need to do in it, we are good. Now, the next thing you want to do is to go into the market and do a survey. That is the research aspect. You want to go into the market, maybe online vendors, get referrals from people that have been married, what they did, or the vendors they selected to do a particular wedding item or element, right? You want to talk to them and talk about how much their range is, what range are we looking at, what's the estimate, what's the actual cost. That is the research I'm talking about. Once you do that, you know how much you're going to spend on each wedding item. After you have done the research, you want to allocate funds. That's the next step to take. You want to allocate funds to each of those wedding categories and elements under those categories, right? You give it an estimate cost, an actual cost, who is paying for it, what vendor, who is in charge of the deliverables, and all of that. You allocate the funds based on the budget you have determined. You're not doing anything outside the budget. For example, if you're having a budget of 5 million naira to spend on your wedding, you know what you're spending 5 million naira into. Like I said, know your non-negotiables. So when you are allocating the funds, you're going to allocate the funds based on the scale of preference. So say your photographer is a non-negotiable for you because you want mad-ass pictures, you want beautiful pictures, or you want the cinematography part to be like a movie. You know you're going to go for the best vendor. You know the quality of videos or the quality of pictures. You know how much you're going to spend on that non-negotiable. So once you can allocate funds for each of the wedding elements, then we want to talk about negotiating with the vendors. That's the next step. Now I'm not going to say number 5. So you want to call vendors and negotiate. Not everybody has negotiating skills, so you might want your mother to do this one for you because I'm very sure that mothers are good at pricing things. Okay? If you do not have a wedding planner, you can talk to your mom, your elder sister, your brother, or whoever you know is good at negotiating stuff. So you negotiate with vendors, and then you have the guest count impact. You know how many guests you're catering for because the size of the wedding is the size of guests you're expecting. You want to know how many guests are coming to the wedding. You want to track your spending, right? After knowing the amount of guests, you want to track your spending. You have to also be realistic. You have to also communicate with your partner in everything you're doing, because this is a two-way thing. Two cannot come together unless they be agreed. That is what my Bible tells me. And if you're a Christian, you would agree with me. You have to talk to your partner. I'm about to do this. I'm about to buy this, and hear their thoughts. They may not necessarily object, but carrying them along is a good way. I've been in a situation where the couple, a bride is going for a very expensive wedding item. I can't remember what it was. I think it was paying for the food or the entertainment part, and the husband to be didn't know how much it was until after the payment was made. I made the payment already, and it was chaos everywhere. I had to start begging the groom, "Oh, please, sir, we are sorry." Oh. That kind of a thing. Whereas if she had communicated to her partner that this is what I'm about to do, I want to pay for this. What do you think? That would have made everything easy breezy. Okay, so in anything you do, do not neglect your partner. Practice inclusivity. So the next thing you want to do is also in the area of managing your budget, you have to adjust. Very, very, very important. You have to adjust. You have to be realistic with what you're doing. If the money is above your budget, but maybe it's a good thing, it's a fair deal, you want to make room for miscellaneous, because that's where you're going to pick the money from to pad into this other one. I mean, budget padding is bad, it's very bad, but I don't mean padding the budget in that light. But if you have an item for miscellaneous, maybe you have allocated, say, 500,000 naira out of 5 million naira to the miscellaneous item, you can pick from the miscellaneous item and add it to the wedding element you're trying to afford or you're trying to buy. Then the next thing you want to do is to involve the wedding planner. I don't know how you guys do it. I don't know how couples do it. They go on their own planning the wedding. I mean, it's kudos to you if you can plan your wedding from start to finish. You are the real MVP, trust me. But if you are tired and if you need help along the way, hello, I'm here. Or if you have someone close to you who can oversee this thing, who has a fair knowledge, probably somebody that has been married before, you can tell them to come in to this mix and be like a consultant for you. So you need a wedding planner, regardless of any other thing you want to tell me. You need a wedding planner, because the wedding planner's role cannot be overemphasized. You need the person to come in and say, okay, this is what you have and this is what you're spending, and they're tracking your spending and they're giving you, professional advice on what you're doing, so you do not go over the top. I think I have been able to give you few things to do when talking about your budget. I hope that with these few points of mine, I have been able to convince you and not to confuse you that wedding budgeting is essential, and determining your budget before spending is also essential. Thank you very much for watching this video. Thank you for this episode, for being here with me throughout this episode. If you watched to this very point, you are loved by me. Okay, hit that subscribe button if you haven't. Also hit the notification bell, just so that you can get more insights or more videos on this channel. I hope to see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. I love you.
Empty hearts and neon lights, they're playing with my mind. Gotta get out of here tonight.